I'm Ali Maki, and I'm originally from a small suburb of Washington State called Kirkland. You may know it from Costco fame, the infamous Kirkland line. That is where I'm from. I really started early doing dance and singing and acting. I was kind of this activities girl because I had two older brothers and I was the only girl. So my mom was just like, thrust you in all these different activities to see like what you love and to give you something to do, since so you're not just like hanging out at home alone all the time. I loved doing all the different like after school things. I started out in dance, doing tap and modern and lyrical and ballet, all the good stuff. And then I eventually started to do musical theater when I was about 8 years old. First show I ever did was called The Magical Story Circus, which was very fun. And I just remember I got to put on this really fun like disco rainbow outfit that had glitter all over it and a little tiny hat, and we would go out and perform these really fun numbers. And it was just the first time in my life where I was like, this is home. Like, this is where I feel truly myself. I think I was the only Japanese American girl, like your first ever like Japanese American Dorothy, Japanese American Wendy. So I got to do all of the fun roles, and that was kind of my where I started. My role models were truly like the women in my family. So my mom was, she went back to work kind of right after I was born. And so I would, Monday through Friday, I would stay with my grandparents. And my grandma is like the strongest woman in my life. My grandmother was actually, when she was 16 years old, she was in the internment camps. And you know, she came from a sharecropper's family. Like, my great-grandfather was a sharecropper because at that time there was the Alien Land Law Acts and you couldn't actually own property. After the war, they were released with basically $25 and a bus ticket, and that was kind of how they restarted their life. And she created this amazing family after that with my grandfather, and she never let that hold her down. So I think her stories, growing up with those stories of her resilience, of being in the camps and after that and building a life off of nothing, I think was really inspiring to me. You know, when I was doing musical theater in Seattle, I was playing all of these kind of variety of roles. I didn't feel like I had any kind of boxes surrounding me. And, you know, I grew up watching TGIF, and I'd be like, that's me, I'm Tiffany Amber Thiessen. Like, I'm your normal, like, all-American girl going through the struggles of, like, dating and school and life and parents and all of these kind of, like, everyday issues. And so, you know, I kind of went out there with that attitude of like, I can be anything and I can do anything really. And it wasn't until I got to LA that I started to realize, oh no, the world doesn't see me as that. The world doesn't see me kind of as the hero. And I started to slowly realize that I was different, and I started to feel a little bit more different. So all of a sudden it was like, oh no, you're the nerdy girl that loves math, or, you know, you're the over-sexualized dragon lady who does kung fu. And it was kind of these kind of polar opposite identities that I didn't fit into either one of them. So then at that point, I was very much, most of my teenage life was struggling to figure out how to fit into these outside boxes that I didn't feel internally that I was at all. And that specific identity of being an Asian American female is something that I've been working my whole life to discover what that is. I think Wrecked was hugely life-changing for me because I remember going to the audition itself and saying, I know I'm not gonna get this, because I think we are a little bit trained to think if it's one of the lead roles, it's not even gonna be an option for you, you know, and that's kind of where my head was at that time. So when I actually booked that role, it kind of knocked down all of those barriers for me. I was like, wait, if this is true, if I can play this, you know, what else can I play? So that kind of was the first step for me in kind of like kicking down a door of doing something that previously I think the industry wouldn't have kind of accepted me to play. So, wow, the whole experience with Toy Story 4 has been absolutely mind-blowing to me. I mean, that is the one project where my 14-year-old self would never have even believed how any of this happened and that I was part of the Pixar universe. I mean, it's just so crazy. Voiceovers, it takes you back to why I even loved performing in the first place, because you feel like you're just at home again in your room alone doing voices. And I mean, that's exactly what I grew up doing and what I loved doing. And the way that they had even found me was so crazy, because the casting director had said, that they had found a random YouTube video that I had made, like on a weekend with my friends and my dog and my nephew, and we were just out there having fun, like making things that we thought was cool or that we thought was funny, and they had found that randomly and said, wow, this is the girl. So that's why I always tell people, like, go out and make your own content because you don't know who's watching it. You know, that video barely had any views and I was like, this video is a failure. But you know, one of those views was someone that really connected with it and said, oh, that's Giggle. That's Giggle, the character. And you know, that's really essentially kind of like where the start was of how I got this role. So I think there's something about just being your true self and continue to make content, put stuff out there that you can stand by and that makes you laugh. You know, who cares what anyone else thinks? Like if it resonates with you and it makes you laugh and makes you feel like this is your story, I think that's the most important thing. So just go out there and do it.